Hey, so newest film in the DCEU, Shazam: Fury of the Gods, has released in theaters, and so today, after seeing it, I'm going to go ahead and give my quick thoughts. This will be a spoiler-free review, so there will be no spoilers involved for those of you who haven't seen the movie. If anybody has seen the movie, be respectful, in the comment section below. Try to keep it spoiler free. Don't ruin the movie for people who haven't seen it. This is spoiler free. I will be getting to a spoiler review later this week. With that said, let's get started talking about the good. And right off the bat, I think one of the big standouts for this movie is Jack Dylan Grazer as Freddy. And I think that he just did a fantastic job. And this is very much like he very much gets the character arc. You can tell that like there was more focus put into him and giving him a full character arc in this movie than there was really on anybody else, which we'll get to in a little bit. But overall, like they very clearly like when they went to make this movie, one of the first things they had in mind was like, okay, we need to do something with him where we start him off at the movie in a certain space. We have a journey throughout the movie that focuses on him, and by the end of the movie, he ends up getting full closure on that and bringing that to a close. I thought that turned out pretty good. Jack Dylan Grazer was a lot of fun in the role. Likewise, I think that Adam Brody was really given a lot more, not necessarily a lot more, but given more time than in the first Shazam movie to really show, like his kind of comedic timing. And he works pretty good off of Zachary Levi whenever he gets a chance to actually, be in a scene with him. But yeah, overall, yeah, Adam Brody, pretty good. He gets underutilized a little bit, but he's out of all of the Shazam family, he probably makes almost more sense than Zachary Levi for Billy Batson. Like, like Zachary Levi as Shazam compared to Billy Batson is fantastic. But like Adam Brody is almost like even more of a fit to where like with when you compare Asher Angel to the actor who played Billy Batson to Zachary Levi, you kind of like yeah, I can kind of see that. But when you really like pay attention to like when you compare Jack Dylan Grazer as Freddy and compare him to when Adam Brody is playing Freddy, the Shazam version of Freddy, it's like I really see that. Like they did stuff in there that like it was like, yeah, like you very much like you have like when Adam Brady's talking, you can see like little like moments. You can see a little bit of like, yeah, I could kind of see that being something that Jack Dylan Grazer would say or something that he would do. And yeah, he turned out pretty good. Likewise, I think that Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu do prove to be a pretty formidable threat in this film. And it is interesting to, learn more about the mythology of this world being spread out. We get much of a deeper dive into the, like mythology of, like Shazam and more about like, like the powers of Shazam and the gods of the gods and monsters of the DCEU and stuff. And so that was interesting. With that said, let's go ahead and move on. That brings me into my mixed aspects of the movie. And in regards to the mixed aspects, like one thing I just said a minute ago is that the one thing that the movie does is it brings in a lot of mythology based in the universe of Shazam. And that can be both a really good thing and at the same time kind of a interesting thing. Like for some people, like it this is definitely going to depend on how much you're going to be invested in that mythology because like some of the things they introduce in this mythology is like, okay, that's kind of cool. Like that's pretty cool that they did that. Like it's interesting to learn more of these gods and to get like a more in-depth explanation of the powers of Shazam. That's pretty cool. Towards the third act of the movie, they start introducing a bunch of like mythological creatures, like like There's like a centaur, a cyclops, a minotaur, harpies, um, and like these evil unicorn things. And it's like, for some people, that's going to be awesome. Like, that's going to be fantastic. And that's going to be something that's like, oh, hey, that's really cool. There are some people that are going to be looking at this and being like, this is just straight up weird. Like, I don't know what y'all are doing, but this is just, it just gets a little bit too weird too fast. And like, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's definitely like there are going to be mixed reactions in regards to, especially when they do the mythological creatures. One final mixed aspect that I would have to say for the movie is in regards to the character played by Rachel Zegler. For me personally, like the minute that they introduced her character, like like when her character enters the scene, almost immediately my first thought automatically went to like, okay, I think I know what they're doing with this character. And I was kind of, I was gonna be wrong, because I'm like, okay, they're not being this predictable, are they? Like, it's not that predictable. Like, really? And yeah, it ends up being that predictable. And yeah, like when you see the movie, you'll definitely see what I'm talking about. But like, it's like they get to a point in the movie where it's supposed to be like a big shocking reveal, like it's supposed to be a shocking twist, and it's like, yeah, like that was obvious the second that you introduce her character. Like as soon as you introduce her character, I mean, it was obvious. It's like, I mean, like that's not a surprise. You're not. That's not a surprising moment. But yeah, so with that, let's move on to the bad. And I've got a couple of things to talk about over on this end, and it's just, I don't know whose decision it was, but first and foremost, the marketing for not just Shazam Fury of the Gods, but for comic book movies in general the past couple of years, y'all need to figure out what y'all are doing with your marketing. Because marketing wise, like, if you haven't been watching trailers or TV spots for the movie, do not watch any of the trailers or TV spots for the movie, because like the trailers, like what's in the trailers is like, basically everything that is the cool stuff in the movie. Like they spoil like a good at least 75% of the movie. And this last week, it got ridiculous to the point to where, as promotion for the movie, they even did a TV spot that ruins a massive cameo for the movie. And if you're somebody who who has seen that TV spot, you know what I'm talking about. Or if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But it is a major spoiler, and the way that it plays out in the movie is, this is not just a cameo to where the person just just comes in and is like, oh hey, it's, and walks out. Like, it is not a small cameo. Like, this is a cameo to where it's like the movie makes a decision to have a very big plot point happen, and it's like, oh no, what are we going to do about this? And the resolution to that plot point is tied to that cameo, and it's like, why would you do that? Like, why are you doing this? And like, for me, like, I was just browsing on YouTube the other day and got spoiled by it. Just looking through YouTube, and just in recommended, like, this, I didn't catch the whole TV spot. I clicked all of it and I found it, but like, I got to see the entire TV spot, and it's like, dude, that was like why did you do this? Like, why are you doing this? Like, I mean, and it's like it makes no sense to have that cameo in the movie, and to have that cameo in the movie ruined by marketing. Like, it's like, why are y'all doing this? That makes no sense. Y'all are shooting yourselves in the leg. But yeah, another thing to talk about is it's not necessarily the fault of the movie itself, but it's really hard to be invested in the storyline of this movie when it's already been announced by James Gunn and DC that they're resetting the universe. And so it's like, okay, this is a fun enough movie, but does it really matter? Like, because like they're they're rebooting the universe. And the way James Gunn has been talking, like it's like it's going to be a hard reboot to where like they're starting from scratch. And so like it's really like I'm sitting there watching the movie and I am enjoying it and having a good time with it. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, but like this is gonna like this is really kind of inconsequential because like like universe reset, like so it's like okay, and like there's stuff that they clearly decided that they wanted to set up, and it feels weird being in the movie now because it's like, oh, well, y'all are setting this stuff up, and hey, that's actually kind of a cool idea, like like okay, cool. And that's like like there's a mid credit and a post credit scene, and those kind of fall into that same frustration. Is both of them tease something for the future of Shazam. Both of them tease plans that they have, and it's um like that's a cool idea. Both of those are cool ideas, but it's like why are you keeping the tease when in like 2-3 years you're resetting the universe? Like that doesn't really make any sense. Like, or I don't know if James Gunn has really like specified or anything, but like, is Shazam supposed to be part of this new DC universe? Like, are the Shazam movies gonna like the continuity of those gonna be blended into the DC universe? Because if so, that's kind of weird because there are even things in this movie that specifically are like, yes, the Shazam films take place in the DCEU. Like they make that very clear. But yeah, like that's just a gripe that I had that like it's not the movie's fault itself. It's just kind of like it's kind of circumstance. I'm probably gonna have the same issues with like the Flash and Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom. Maybe Blue Beetle, depending on how they handle that, because I don't know exactly what plans are for that. But like it, yeah, like it sucks because like you're like, well, like DC kind of has to like they put a ton of money into Shazam: Fury of the Gods, The Flash, Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom, Blue Beetle, and it's like if you just cancel the movies, like you're losing like a ton of money. But at the same time, it's kind of like, yeah, like by releasing these movies now and keeping the original idea you have with the movies, like I'm kind of struggling to be like, okay, why should I be invested though? Because like it's like why should I be invested? Because it's like, oh well, like there's gonna be a universe reset, and so like this isn't gonna matter. Like, I mean, James Gunn might surprise us and be like, hey, yeah, Shazam and Aquaman, they're gonna be part of the new DC universe. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, if that ends up being the case, awesome. Look forward to it. That'd be fantastic if that ends up happening. But like the way it is right now, it's like, oh yeah, well, like reboot. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on that. And another thing that is in the negative for me is in regards to the character, the relationship that the sisters have, that the daughters of Atlas. That is something that is it's frustrating because Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu are both really good actresses and both do a pretty decent job in the movie. But the way the movie plays out, it's like it's very clear that each of the daughters have like their own goals, and like it really is made clear that like yeah, they have conflicting goals to an extent, to where it's like if you really stop and think about it for a minute, their plan doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because like there are things that happen in the movie specifically regarding like Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren, where it's like, okay, wait a minute, like y'all could have been like, y'all did not think this through. And there's even specific moments in the movie to where it's like a character will do something and it gets overlooked, and then later on it's like, oh yeah, like like okay. And that's another thing too, is like there are multiple moments in the movie to where the movie only keeps going because people are making stupid decisions, and it's people making stupid rash decisions. And like when I do my spoiler review, I'll get more into it, but like there are moments to where like somebody does something and it's like, wait, what? Why did you do that? Like that doesn't make any sense. There was like you were, or they'll have like an option of they'll either do something that is just rash and doesn't make any sense, or they'll do something and as soon as they get ready to do it, like there is a much better alternative, like right there, and it's like, no, ignore that, because if we do that, then the movie ends. Like we can't do that. Like we can't do that, because if we do that, then the movie ends, and like like we have to do it this way. And like yeah, and that they yeah, it's frustrating because like people are making dumb decisions, and it keeps on coming back, and it's like it happens enough times to where it's like, yeah, that's just lazy writing. Like y'all are just making contrived plot points happen because like it's convenient for the plot. And like to that note is like there are like really weird moments to where they either make a plot point, or they bring in a certain plot device, and either they end up breaking the rule that they just made, or they end up just like that plot device they has introduced, they're like, they don't stop to think about the fact that like, oh yeah, that's actually really problematic, and like that's that causes a bunch of issues. Like there is a big plot point, like I'd say probably about like halfway through the movie, to where it's like like where something happens to where it puts our heroes, it puts the Shazam family in a really bad situation. But if you stop and think about it for like 5 minutes, it's like, wait a minute, like y'all would not be in this situation. Like, you have a way out of this. Like, you have a very clear way out of this that you didn't only establish earlier, but later in the movie you go back to it like 3 times, and you keep bringing attention to it. And it's like they're so dead set on, like I said, like it becomes a flaw of like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Like, there is no reason that would happen like that. Like, why would you not just do the obvious thing and like, I can't say it right now because of spoilers, but like I said, when I get into my spoiler review, like, I've got thoughts on it, and it is very frustrating. Also, they make a choice with Rachel Zegler's character, like, towards the end of the movie, that is meant to be kind of sweet and endearing and cute. But when I saw it, like, and the way they execute it really weird. And to me, it didn't really come off that endearing. It came off just kind of like, that's kind of like, it's a little icky. That's a little problem. Like, it's a little creepy, and like, the scene happens, and like, it happens, and you've got a bunch of characters around, and one of the characters even looks at another one and goes, "Yeah, isn't that kind of problematic?" And it's like, yeah, and it's played as being very sweet and endearing, but you think of the implications of it, and it's like, wait a minute, that is not, no, that is not cute. That is, another thing that I would like to kind of take into account here is that it feels like they didn't quite know what to do with the Shazam family itself, to where we really only get like 2 major scenes where we have the Shazam family actually working together. And even in those scenes, they're not really like together so much as is, oh, character A is over here, character B is over here. And, oh, hey, a couple of them will like gather in one spot, and then a couple will be over here. But like, you don't really get much of the Shazam family actually fighting as a Shazam family. And another plot convenience is like, they were like, oh, well, we want to put more focus on, like Zachary Levi as Shazam. Like, we want to get the main focus back on him. So they come up with a way to, to deal with the rest of the Shazam family. And it makes sense plot-wise, but it kind of feels a little bit kind of like the Shazam family definitely gets underutilized. And like I was saying earlier, Adam Brody it's kind of disappointing because Adam Brody was very enjoyable, and when he gets scenes with Zachary Levi, they have pretty fun chemistry together. But they barely get any time together, and Adam Brody maybe gets like 5 minutes of screen time. And I do not know what happened with Asher Angel, but Billy Batson maybe gets like 5 minutes of screen time. And it's a really, really, really weird choice, especially because they have this plot point that is focused on, like, they have a thing that happens with him to where, like, they have a plot element that, like, it's trying to pull out all these big emotions and stuff. And it's like they introduce a moment with him at the beginning of the movie that they set something up at the beginning of the movie, and then you get to the end of the movie and it's like, wait a minute, like, you get to the end of the movie, it's like, oh yeah, we forgot about that. Like, we need to pay that off. But the thing is when you introduce it at the beginning of the movie, you don't go back to it. Like, because the movie has so much going on that it doesn't have time to get back to it. And so you get back to the end of the movie and they're like, oh crap, we need to we need to go ahead and we need to pay that off because we set that up. We need to pay it off. And the way they pay it off comes off as manipulative. Because it's like, oh yeah, that was an issue. Like, oh, I forgot that was even a problem because you've got all this stuff going on with everything else. But yeah, overall, I think this is an enjoyable enough entry into DCEU. Definitely had some problematic moments in it though. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of Shazam: Fury of the Gods. I'll try to get my spoiler review out in the next couple of days. Y'all take care.